If you're a glutton for punishment, Elden Ring is a game for you, because you're going to die. A lot. So many times. Elden Ring is a 2022 action role-playing game developed by Japanese studio From Software and published by Bandai Namco. It's taken the gaming world by storm over the course of a year, and is a likely candidate for this year's Game of the Year at the Game Awards, among other accolades. What makes Elden Ring so unique is its emphasis on having a rigorous, hardcore playstyle, akin to the likes of its predecessors in the Dark Souls series, as well as spin-offs Sekiro and Bloodborne. It's a gameplay loop that insists on being incredibly punishing, but always fair. Essentially, you're going to die a ton, and when you do, you're supposed to take the knowledge you gained through the mistakes of your past run, and then use all of that to advance onto the next sections of the game. The reward of Elden Ring and games like it is the grit, the fact that you were able to persevere and win despite the odds that the game has stacked against you. After you've beaten a FromSoft game, you can brag about the fact that you did it, because most people usually don't have the time, patience, or dedication to clear one like this in general. The game boasts a massive open world. It's important to note that Elden Ring is not the first and will not be the last open world game. However, it has been applauded for the deep yet unobtrusive lore that other FromSoft games have been known for, all while being bolstered by the creative addition of George R.R. Martin, creator of the Song of Ice and Fire series that inspired Game of Thrones. Needless to say, this game is stacked, and it's masterfully executed at that. A high fantasy dream probably isn't even generous enough as to how well produced this game is. All of that being said, I will probably never finish it. For something as in-depth and painstakingly well put together as a game like Elden Ring is, I'll probably never actually beat the final boss and roll the credits. There's an open world fatigue that already exists for video games, and because Elden Ring just adds to an ever-expanding catalog, it doesn't make being someone who wants to enjoy a ton of games any easier. On top of this, Elden Ring has been pushed as the most accessible FromSoft game to date, being slower paced than Bloodborne or Sekiro, and having less of the things that prevent you from doing what you want when you want to. In spite of that, what I've found throughout my playthrough is that I'll stroll into an area, realize that I'm incredibly underprepared for the fight that's ahead, and then not want to spend the time required to level up and come back. Most of the time, the thing preventing progress in FromSoft games is a skill bar, hence the popular phrase, "get good." But what I've found here is that instead, what prevents my progress is leveling and an inevitable grind. I realized something while I was first recording this video, and that's that I never actually expanded on what the story of Elden Ring entails. That's because for as much as there is an emphasis on the story and the world, so much of it is spread out that in the end it barely mattered to me. When you need to focus so much of your time on making sure that you're leveled high enough to come to bat with the enemies around you, and then the game throws an array of weapons that all have their own features and leveling patterns, and then you have to be at a high enough level in certain stats to wield those weapons. It's like being at a buffet with as many styles and types of food as you can imagine, but only having one plate and set of utensils that you can use the entire time that you're there. There's just so much to Elden Ring that I think in the process of it all, it's a game that becomes overwhelming. Throw in working a job and coming back to school at Syracuse, and it's something that, should I ever finish the game, I know it'll have taken longer than a year. And more than the 160 hours and counting that I have logged, even though some of them have been spent idling. Thanks for listening.